sorry for taking our parents and our kids.
The judgment and sentence of the court.
What happens when reckless youth confront the unimaginable reality of life sentences? These are dangerous teenagers reacting to life sentences. Life sentences are designed for the most severe crimes, yet when handed to teenagers, they evoke mixed reactions. Society struggles to reconcile the severity of their actions with their age and potential for change. Many of these young offenders grew up in unstable environments, battled mental health issues, or faced emotional immaturity. These cases force us to confront difficult questions. Are life sentences just for juvenile offenders, or should the possibility of rehabilitation always remain? Case 1. Tyler Hadley. Meet Tyler Hadley, the teenager who murdered his parents simply to experience what it was like to kill. In July 2011, Tyler Hadley, a troubled 17-year-old from Port St. Lucie, Florida, planned a party unlike any other. Earlier that day, he made a seemingly innocent post on Facebook. "Party at my crib tonight." Beneath this casual invitation lay a horrifying secret. Tyler's life had been marked by increasing rebellion and drug use. On July 16th, he took 3 ecstasy pills, grabbed a claw hammer, and attacked his mother, Mary Jo, while she sat at her computer. The attack was brutal. Tyler struck her repeatedly before killing his father, Blake Hadley, who rushed to investigate the commotion. He then hid their bodies in the master bedroom.
He told me that the kid got up, and he was like, he told me that, like, the gist of it, that he did something to his parents.
After cleaning up, Tyler used his parents' credit cards to purchase party supplies. That evening, about 60 teenagers arrived at his home, oblivious to the gruesome scene behind a locked door. Some guests noticed an unusual smell and Tyler's strange behavior. Shockingly, he confided in a few attendees about the murders, but they dismissed his claims as a sick joke.
After he told me, I didn't believe him because he's been my best friend forever. I would never suspect anything like this. I opened the door. I saw bloody sheets piled everywhere. I saw broken pictures with blood on them, and I looked down and I saw his dad's leg.
After you saw this scene, what did you do?
I was in shock.
One friend, however, took him seriously and called the police. Tyler was arrested that night. Although he was spared the death penalty due to his age, he was sentenced to life in prison without parole in 2014. Tyler's case highlights the intersection of youth, mental health, and crime. It raises questions about whether juveniles who commit heinous acts can never be rehabilitated or if their crimes warrant permanent incarceration. Case 2. Rachel Wade. At just 19 years old, Rachel Wade's life took a tragic turn due to a toxic love triangle. Rachel's ex-boyfriend, Josh Camacho, had started dating another woman, Sarah Luden. Jealous and still infatuated with Josh, Rachel sent Sarah angry and threatening messages, warning her to stay away from him. This rivalry intensified over time, with both women vying for Josh's attention, even though he was reportedly abusive toward them both.
Quit with me, Sarah. You and him both are dumb, psychotic little and I'm telling you now, I'm going to show you psycho.
On April 14, 2009, the situation escalated fatally. According to Rachel, Sarah approached her in her car, screaming threats and holding a knife. Feeling threatened, Rachel claimed she acted in self-defense. However, witnesses told a different story, describing Rachel as the aggressor who initiated the confrontation.
What did you do before you left your apartment?
I grabbed a knife. But the defense told jurors it was for self-defense.
Rachel stabbed Sarah twice, with one wound piercing her heart. Sarah succumbed to her injuries in the early hours of the following morning. Rachel was charged with second-degree murder and sentenced to 27 years in prison in September 2010.
State of Florida versus Rachel Wade, murder in the second degree. We, the jury, find as follows: ask that the defendant in this case. The defendant is guilty of murder in the second degree as charged. So say we all.
At the bottom of the guidelines, 246 months, which turns out to be 20 and a half years to life.
Rachel's case underscores the dangers of jealousy, toxic relationships, and unchecked emotions. It also serves as a stark reminder of how easily youthful conflicts can spiral into irreversible tragedies. Case 3. Nehemiah Griego. In January 2013, 15-year-old Nehemiah Griego committed a crime so shocking that it left an entire community in mourning. Nehemiah, the eldest of 5 siblings, grew up in an environment fraught with emotional instability. On January 19th, he carried out a gruesome plan, beginning with the murder of his mother, Sarah Griego, as she slept. He then turned the gun on his 9-year-old brother and 5-year-old sister, who had been awake during the attack.
Pulled it out. Pulled the trigger. Why did you aim the gun at her face? That she couldn't sleep. I had a hard time sleeping. So what'd you do when you were your sister's room? You know, I completely turned off my conscience. I really did. You know, I just let the beast come out.
Hours later, Nehemiah ambushed his father, Greg Griego, shooting him multiple times with an AR-15 rifle as he returned home from work. Afterward, Nehemiah sent photos of his mother's body to his girlfriend and loaded the family van with firearms, planning to carry out a mass shooting at a Walmart. Instead, he went to church and confessed his actions to a pastor, who called the police. Nehemiah later admitted that he had been struggling with violent fantasies for years.
I am sorry for taking our parents and our kids. You know, I wish I could take it back, but the reality is that we can't. I want no retaliation. I love you guys, and I want to see the best for y'all. And whatever you may do, and I do pray for you guys to have healing the way I'm having healing.
In court, Nehemiah expressed remorse but was sentenced to 3 life terms plus an additional 7 years. He will be eligible for parole after 30 years. Case 4. Ethan Crumbly. Ethan Crumbly, a 15-year-old student from Oxford High School in Michigan, was an ordinary teenager in many ways. He attended school, interacted with his peers, and participated in daily life like many others his age. However, on November 30th, 2021, everything changed, and Crumbly's name would become forever linked with a shocking and tragic event. That morning, what seemed like an average school day quickly turned into one of the deadliest school shootings in recent memory.
Breaking news this morning with that tragic school shooting in Oxford, Michigan. The 15-year-old suspected shooter is now in custody after opening fire inside Oxford High School, killing at least 3 students and injuring 8 others.
At approximately 12:51 p.m., Crumbly armed himself with a semi-automatic handgun and entered the school. His intentions were clear as he began his attack in the hallways, methodically shooting at anyone in sight. The situation rapidly escalated as the school was thrust into a state of chaos. Students screamed and scattered, attempting to find shelter or escape the unfolding violence. Some ran into classrooms, desperately trying to lock doors and block entry, while others were already outside, trying to flee the campus altogether. In the midst of the panic, Crumbly continued his rampage, targeting classrooms as students attempted to get away. He showed no mercy and spared no one in his path. During this harrowing event, the school's alert system kicked in almost immediately. Teachers, staff, and students responded quickly, putting into practice the safety drills that had been previously rehearsed. These procedures, though not flawless, were vital in limiting the scale of destruction. The rapid response helped reduce further casualties. However, despite the swift actions of those involved, Crumbly managed to continue his attack for roughly 5 minutes, long enough to leave behind unimaginable trauma and destruction. By the time the authorities arrived and he was taken into custody, Crumbly had already killed 4 students and injured 7 others, including a teacher. The injured victims were rushed to hospitals, some critically wounded. Ambulances lined up outside the school as emergency responders worked tirelessly to tend to the wounded and ensure their transport to medical facilities. The emotional toll of this violence left an indelible mark on the Oxford community. You can see a more visual representation of the chaos and aftermath through this video.
Sheriff's office! Yeah, we're here.
The immediate aftermath of the shooting was filled with confusion and heartbreak. The students, faculty, and families were left grappling with the horror of what had just occurred. The community of Oxford, Michigan, would never be the same, as families mourned the loss of their children and the injured continued to recover from both physical and emotional wounds. The police investigation revealed that Crumbly had planned the attack in advance, as he had been carrying the weapon to school for several days. Further details about his motives began to emerge, although they remained unclear. Some reports suggested that Crumbly had exhibited disturbing behavior and a fascination with violence in the weeks leading up to the attack. The criminal justice process for Crumbly was swift and intense. The charges he faced were severe, including terrorism causing death, first-degree murder, and multiple counts of assault with intent to murder. His trial became a spectacle of emotion, as the victims' families and survivors testified about the impact the tragedy had on their lives. The emotional weight of the proceedings was felt by all who were involved, and the courtroom became a space to confront the profound consequences of Crumbly's actions. One of the most heart-wrenching moments of the trial was hearing from the families of those who had died or been injured. The pain in their voices was palpable, and their accounts of the loss they had experienced made the tragedy feel even more real. You can see a representation of this emotional toll in a video here. In the end, on December 9, 2023, the court sentenced Ethan Crumbly to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The sentencing marked the end of the legal process, but it did little to ease the pain of the victims and their families. The ripple effects of the shooting continued to reverberate across the Oxford community and beyond. The question of how to prevent such tragedies in the future has dominated public discourse since that fateful day. It's a reminder of the urgent need for change in terms of gun control and school safety, as well as a reflection on the deep psychological struggles that often go unnoticed in young people. To understand more about the impact of this case, this video shows a detailed overview of the sentencing and aftermath. The case of Ethan Crumbly serves as a grim reminder of the dangers posed by unchecked violence in schools and the potential consequences when individuals choose to act on their violent impulses. His case has sparked debates about gun control, school security, and mental health, with many calling for better prevention measures to address these issues before another tragedy occurs. Unfortunately, the loss of innocent lives in this attack is a painful chapter in the ongoing conversation about how to create safer environments for students across the country. Case 5. Mackenzie. Shirel. Shirel's case is a haunting example of how toxic relationships and emotional instability can lead to devastating consequences.
19-year-old Mackenzie Shirella is being called hell on wheels. She's accused of driving her car at 100 miles an hour into a brick building to intentionally kill her boyfriend, 20-year-old Dominic Russo, and his friend, 19-year-old Davian Flanagan.
In July 2022, Mackenzie, her boyfriend Dominic Russo, and his friend Davin Flanagan were driving in Cuyahoga County, Ohio. The incident initially appeared to be a tragic car accident, but investigators soon uncovered evidence that suggested Mackenzie had acted intentionally. Mackenzie and Dominic had been in a volatile relationship marked by frequent arguments and threats. According to witness statements and text messages, Mackenzie had previously threatened to crash her car with Dominic inside if their fights escalated further.
'87 Central is going to be a signal 30. Hey, anybody in there? Wake up!
On the night of the crash, Mackenzie deliberately floored the gas pedal, driving the car at full speed into a building without braking. A mechanical analysis of the vehicle confirmed this chilling fact, and security footage captured the horrifying crash. Both Dominic and Davin were killed instantly. In court, a forensic expert testified that Mackenzie's actions were deliberate, not accidental. On August 14, 2023, she was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison, with eligibility for parole after 15 years.
Court, having had count 8 tried to pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant, Mackenzie Shirilla, guilty of felonious assault, to wit, Davion Flanagan.
Mackenzie's story serves as a stark reminder of how unchecked emotions, toxic relationships, and impulsive decisions can lead to irreversible tragedy. Case 6. Aiden Fucci. Aiden Fucci's crime shocked the nation due to its brutality and senselessness. At just 14 years old, Aiden stabbed his 13-year-old classmate Tristan Bailey 114 times in a wooded area near their neighborhood in Florida. On May 9, 2021, Tristan's family reported her missing when she failed to return home after spending the evening with friends. Hours later, her body was discovered by a neighbor in a wooded area. Surveillance footage showed Aiden and Tristan walking together that night, making him a prime suspect. Friends of Aiden later revealed disturbing details about his behavior. He often talked about killing people and expressed a fascination with violence. Aiden even named his knives Poker and Picker, which he carried regularly. Initially, Aiden pleaded not guilty, but in February 2023, he changed his plea to guilty. On March 24, 2023, he was sentenced to life in prison, with the possibility of parole after 25 years. This case has left the community grappling with questions about how to address violent tendencies in youth. Aiden's age raises difficult ethical dilemmas. Should teenagers who commit such crimes be given a chance at rehabilitation? Or does the severity of their actions warrant lifelong punishment? These 6 cases highlight the dark and often misunderstood intersection of adolescence, crime, and punishment. Adolescents are in a stage of psychological development where impulsivity, peer influence, and emotional immaturity can override rational decision-making. Yet, these traits do not excuse their actions. Forensic psychologists often argue that the teenage brain is not fully developed, particularly in areas responsible for impulse control and moral reasoning. This developmental gap has sparked debates over whether juveniles should face the same harsh sentences as adults. In the U.S., the Supreme Court has ruled against mandatory life sentences without parole for juveniles, citing the potential for rehabilitation. However, these cases demonstrate the challenges of balancing justice with the possibility of redemption. What are your thoughts on these cases? Should teenagers be given a second chance, or do their crimes justify life sentences without parole? Share your opinions in the comments section.